people of Endicott, especially here, knew that they were living in a very special time. This was, I don't think it's very hard now for the generations that are growing up to conceive of the people here, where every day at one end of town you've got the guys in the blue collars coming out of the EJ factories and the tanneries, which smell bad. At the other end of the same street is this pristine, clean white factories with the guys in the white shirts and with smiles on their faces and dedicated to creating and perpetuating IBM. It wasn't just the workers working on the assembly line and then they go home. It was the corporate workers working the assembly line, and when they go home, they live IBM. They still dress that way, they think that way, they play golf at the IBM facility, they enjoy each other's companies, they have the dinners, you have the IBM orchestra, you have the IBM Glee Club, the choir, you have the IBM songs, which is, ever onward. They created this whole culture that is the IBM world. Watson never really had a house here. He didn't build a big mansion. His base of operations and his home operations were New York and New Jersey. But I think he always saw the IBM homestead as a base of operation. The house itself was built for a financier, a creditor with Henry B. Endicott. And then when Endicott died, he had to move away, and it was owned by a fraternal group for a couple of years, and then IBM bought it as a base of operation, a place where Watson and Mrs. Watson could stay. They could have their artwork there if they wanted to, but it was also a base of operations for management meetings, for sales meetings, and for Tent City. If Watson's ghost, his spirit is, and it's still felt around this community, but I think the one place I would think his spirit, his ghost, is still hovering around is the IBM homestead.
I admit it was quite spooky sleeping in the same bedroom as Thomas Watson, who I know was in this bedroom at the very time in the 30s when he was collaborating with the Third Reich on a day-to-day basis involving the conquest of Europe and the destruction of the Jews. IBM was a cultic company. We have two individuals. We have Adolf Hitler, who is known as Der Führer, which in German means the leader. And we have Thomas Watson, who in America was also called the leader. The Nazis wore brown, the IBMers wore blue. Hundreds of thousands massed for the Nazi rallies. Thousands massed, tens of thousands massed, right here in Binghamton for these IBM rallies. They followed their fearless leader in both cases. These were cultic corporations. IBM has attempted to undermine the book and to obfuscate the information of the book since the days before the book came out originally on February 11th, 2001, when it came out simultaneously at the same hour on the same day in 40 countries. They had a copy of the book beforehand, as did many historians. They have refused to comment. They engendered and promoted misinformation. They attempted to promote bad feelings about the book, which were ultimately rescinded and defeated. Now, the book has withstood the test of time, has withstood a virtual army of people trying to find fault and error with the book. No fault and no error can be found with the book. IBM refuses to deny any aspect of the thousands of facts that are in the book about IBM's 12-year continuous involvement, conscious involvement with the Third Reich for the sole purpose of plundering Europe and destroying populations. Why did they do it? It was never about the anti-Semitism. It was never about the National Socialism. It was always about the money. And we always made it clear what IBM knew and didn't know when they were undertaking their collusion with the Third Reich. I can tell you this. The Holocaust that we know the astronomical Holocaust. This is the IBM Hollerith Holocaust. Without IBM organizing the names, organizing the trains, organizing the banks, organizing the death camps, the numbers would have been vastly different. For heaven's sakes, there was an IBM customer site in every concentration camp. The Auschwitz tattoo itself began as an IBM number. IBM is completely willing to see people die as a byproduct of its commerce. It's completely willing to defraud governments, accountability, inquiries, to mask its own history. And as far as the IBM company is shown, they have a clear, unbroken record of doing anything for business, not allowing the death, destruction, and disease of individuals to get in the way, and preventing their own accountability by means of lawyers, by means of money, by means of donations, and by means of political muscle. The fact of the matter is that IBM today, the IBM that we know this minute, in 2009, in 2010, is still denying the fact that they helped co-plan the Holocaust. They're still denying the information. They're still lying to the public. They're still lying to the media. They're pretending they don't have the information when they have all of the information. And this company has thereby linked itself to its original genocide. They won't do anything to disown it, and therefore they are defending it as one of their modes of operation.